I request everyone to be seated. Honorable dignitaries on and off the dais, respected faculty members and staff of this university, distinguished guests and invitees, and my dear students, a very warm good afternoon to one and all. It is with profound respect and heartfelt gratitude that we gather here today at Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, to honor the illustrious career and invaluable contributions of Honorable Sri Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India and former Chancellor of this university. Justice Abhay Oak's unwavering commitment to upholding constitutional values and his dedication to justice have left an indelible mark on the Indian judiciary and legal education, inspiring future generations to uphold the ideals of justice, equity, and the rule of law. Justice Abhay Oak's tenure as the Chancellor of Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, for almost 3 years, from August 2022 to May 2025, was marked by visionary leadership at a critical juncture in the university's development. At a time when the institution was at its nascent stage and required careful nurturing, Justice Oak played a pivotal role in laying a strong academic research and administrative foundation. His contribution went beyond ceremonial oversight. He offered principled leadership that helped the university emerge as a promising center for legal education, grounded in constitutional values and institutional integrity. Today, we celebrate his remarkable journey and bid him a fond farewell. To commence the proceedings, may I now invite Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald, Vice Chancellor of this university, to deliver the welcome address.
A very good afternoon to one and all who are present here. It is my privilege as the Vice Chancellor of the University to welcome all to this farewell ceremony for our former Chancellor, Honorable Justice Abhay Oak, and welcome him on his new role as he has donned in this university as the Emeritus Jurist of Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. And thus, he will definitely stay connected with the university and its students. Today, we also felicitate Honorable Justice Prasanna Varale, who has recently been appointed as the new Chancellor of the university. Members on the dais, we have Honorable Justice Abhay Oak, former Chancellor of the university and Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Justice Prasanna Varale, our Chancellor of the university and Judge, Supreme Court of India. Madam Geeta Prasanna Varale, Madam Anuja Abhay Oak, Professor Lakshminath, our Professor Emeritus, who is here with us. We also have Honorable Justice Ravindra Guge, Judge, Bombay High Court, and the nominee of the Chancellor on the Executive Council and the Governing Councils. Our esteemed guests of the dais, Honorable Sitting Judges of the High Court of Bombay Bench at Aurangabad, Honorable Retired Judges of the High Court of Bombay, Honorable Justice Ravindra Borde, Honorable Justice Sunil Deshmukh, Designated Senior Counsels, members of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, President and Secretary of the Bar Association, Government Leader and his team, invited guests, members of the various councils and committees of the university, Professor Jadhav, the Registrar of the university, faculty, non-teaching staff, and our dear students of MNLU Sambhajinagar. As we are gathered here for the farewell function of Honorable Justice Abhay Oak, I stand here with mixed emotions. Mixed emotions because in Justice Oak, we had a great person as our Chancellor, and whose tenure as the Chancellor for this university was nothing short of being transformative. At the same time, we have the privilege of welcoming our newly appointed Chancellor, another distinguished person whose appointment as the Chancellor signals the continuity of excellence and a promise of growth for the university. Honorable Justice Oak, sir, you stepped down from the position of the Chancellor of the university, but we are privileged that you have accepted our invitation to be the Emeritus Juris of the university. Your vision for the university will continue to guide us. This is a university where your involvement with the university elevated us to a promising height and promising young National Law University. You not only guided the faculty, staff, and students, but you stood steadfast in securing resources, building collaborations, and nurturing an excellent academic culture within the university, and you continue to do so. You have been a beacon to us, and your continued presence now in the classrooms will continue to shape our journey on the path of excellence. What this university is bears your imprint. Honorable Justice Prasanna Varale, sir, we are equally honored to have you as the Chancellor of the university. Your distinguished judicial career and your commitment to constitutional values will help us to uphold the vision of excellence, and we look forward to working under your mentorship. As we transition from one phase to the next, I invite everyone present here in joining me in expressing our gratitude to Honorable Justice Oak for his unparalleled contribution and extending our respectful welcome. I also welcome Madam Anuja Abhay Oak and also Madam Varale. As I was telling them a little ago, you play an incredible role as the Lordships give us time in the institution building. It is a pleasure to welcome both of you to this university. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. This afternoon, as we honor Honorable Justice Oak and embrace the future, we take this transition for further growth and take greater responsibility to take this university to greater heights, knowing that this university is a crucible where justice is shaped. I welcome all the members on the dais and off the dais to be part of the farewell function being held in gratitude for the contribution of Honorable Justice Abhay Oak, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your warm words. Next, we have the honor of hearing from Professor Dr. A. Lakshminath, Distinguished Professor Emeritus at MNLU-CS, who will share his reflections on Justice Abhay Oak's contribution.
Honorable President of this function, Honorable Justice Parale Sahab, and our Lord Chancellor, Honorable Justice Oka Sahab, our former Chancellor, Madam Oak Madam, esteemed Vice Chancellor, my learned friend Registrar, judges sitting and retired, and particularly my learned friend Justice Borde sir, Justice Deshmukh sir, and others sitting, and see other faculty members and students. I am indeed honored to speak on this occasion. I think the word used was farewell and welcoming. I think we have used the word farewell a little bit in a cryptic sense, because this is nothing but extension of morning's induction program, because we have inducted two great people, one as Chancellor, that is Justice Varale sir, and another former Chancellor as emeritus jurist. So these are two things, I think, which is a great boon to us that both of you have come, and I think it is neither a farewell nor a welcome, because it is nothing but existing things are continued, but with a new avatar of our former Chancellor in the form of a jurist. And that too, sir, the posts in Supreme Court or maybe all courts, they are much shorter. And you have to retire by the time you attained the age of 65. But sir, emeritus jurist is a permanent one. A loss to the Supreme Court is a gain to our university. So this is what my humble submission is. Sir, secondly, about our Honorable Chief Host, Chancellor sir. I think every day we pray him, every day we think of him. That is, what we call, I'll get it. Om Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Sasivarnam Dijabhudam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam. This is what now we start, and I think daily most of we people, we always remember his delightful and his very enjoyable face. And not only that, a common god is to us, and with our borders, both Telangana and Andhra, is Venkateshwara. See, Venkateshwara is also known as Balaji. So Balaji, again, every morning we pray that Bhavatu Prasanna Mukha Mandale, Bhavatu Prasanna Mukha Mandale. This precedes with Tava Suprabhata Maravinda Lochane, Tava Suprabhata Maravindrosne, Bhavatu Prasanna Mukha Mandale. So these are the things where I think we need not have to fear that every day we can think of him and every day he will be with us with all his blessings. And that is what now we have started with Vigno Upasanche. So with this, sir, our induction program as far as the former Chancellor, Justice Habai Oaksop, it's indeed, a great thing for us. And I had the privilege of working under him as Vice Chancellor for 13 months. And these 13 months, to compare, they are like 13 years when Pandavas were in exile, but they were all, helped. And they were all, for all the weak people, he is the strength. And for all the 13 months, like Lord Krishna, Justice Abhay Oak was always with me. Sir, you may not believe that even at midnight, at 12 midnight, even if I called, he used to respond immediately. And those were the 13 months we had very critical problems. And it is just because of Justice Oaksop, we could solve them. And that is one of the greatest things which I could. And secondly, he is always, as far as duty is concerned, I said this is, ontic deontic. He has a philosophy of its own, and that is duty. And that's why I have written in that coffee book also that Yato abhayas tato dharmaha. Yato abhayas tato dharmaha. Where abhaya is there is dharma. Friends, this dharma we can see, particularly when he has adorned the bench right from Bombay, Karnataka and Supreme Court. He has been consistent, which is a very rare thing as far as Supreme Court judges are concerned. Consistency, certainty and clarity, these are the three hallmarks of his judgments. And sir, I tell you, as a person, as a student of jurisprudence, when others write such long judgments, forgetting what they are writing, here is one example where clarity, go to the facts, matrix of facts, this is the point, and this is what I decide. So it is such a wonderful and simple thing. And it is rather, very strange that in the last week, he has delivered so many judgments. And all judgments have got very significant and remarkable impact on the jurisprudence of the court. And these are some of the things which I may very briefly present it. That is, I will not take much time. See his attitude and see his longing, particularly for upholding liberties and for upholding dignity. In fact, dignity is such thing which we have to give it to others. It is not guaranteed. We have guaranteed justice, liberty, equality, but we are not guaranteed fraternity. But Justice Oakeshott has guaranteed dignity, and he has made liberty more expansive. So particularly, I'll just read out this crux. He is a balancer between fiat justitia and salus populi, while being strict with the letter of the law. Let the heavens fall, but I'll follow the law. But at the same time, he was more, a democratic justice. This way is called the demos prudent. One who takes the democratic feelings into the judgments, and thereby he gives no credibility through the court. He is one such judge, and Justice Oakeshott is such a person. He is a democratic judge, and he is a demos prudent, giving democratic parity for all the groups, and particularly he becomes voice of the voiceless, and he is the strength of the poor. That is what kshatrasya kshatram yad dharma, abalayan balavanta. So for those who are weak, he is the strength. That is where all his judgments are. Then last day, he said, during last week, justice cannot be dispensed from crumbling buildings. The majesty of the judiciary requires dignity not only in robes but also in surroundings. And that is where he immediately after he said, till then nobody bothered. We are celebrating 75 years, 50 years, 25 years. But it is only after his, command, or at least directive to the people. All states are implementing this, at least they are the places where people can at least sit. That is wonderful impact of the judgment. Then about the environment and sustainable development is that development must walk hand in hand with the environment. One cannot not trample the other into silence on the other into retirement. So you cannot weaken the sustainable development. Give environment. And the court also, in all his judgments, I think right from 2015 up to 2025, he has maintained that balance between the environment and also sustainable development. And on the last day, the last judgment, he emphasized the dignity of the courts. Courts as the lower courts, saying that lower courts is against the ethos of our constitution, emphasizing the institutional equality and dignity. Because normally we call lower courts subordinate courts. In fact, the constitution itself uses subordinate courts. And constitution itself uses judicial officers, inferior judicial officers. But he is above the constitution in this, saying that no court is subordinate court, no court is lower court. They are all a trial court or sessions court. That is the sense of equality, not merely preaching, but also in practicing. Because you have to maintain the institutional dignity. And expand the concept of Article 21, including privacy. About privacy, he has given a judgment in 2015 itself, that is in Sheikh Jahid Mukhtar, whereas Puttaswamy's case has come in 2017. A year much earlier, he has given this the greatest right for the individuals, particularly right of privacy. And further, he played a pivotal role in expanding the contours of liberty, and their giving a more expansive interpretation to bail jurisprudence. He said that the scope of bail jurisprudence, conditions of bail should not be so harsh that cannot be fulfilled. Courts must show restraints while imposing bail conditions. Bail is the rule and jail is the exception. That is what he reiterated number of times. And even for the legal aid also, he has given us a very important judgment. I cannot narrate all those judgments. So what all I feel before I finish is I have a very long thing to read, but I don't want to read. My accolades and encomiums for your remarkable contribution as Chancellor and Patria Potestas of this university in selecting with meticulous care and novel methodology in appointing Professor Bindu Runald, a person of impeccable integrity, dedicated, consummate, and accomplished academic and astute administrator with commitment to academic excellence as the Vice Chancellor of this university, for which I express my grateful thanks, because this is what all Vice Chancellors, they come and go, but it is here we want her to be for 1 decade, because this is what we are earning for this. For the last 8 or 9 years, Vice Chancellors, they come and go, but at least here is we are sure she will remain for a decade, and where is we can see the rise and rise of this university. And I'll conclude before saying that I recall great Nobel laureate Jatha Chitta Bhoy Sunya. Bhoy Sunya means abhay. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, into that heaven of freedom, let our Chancellor and Jurist Emeritus and Vice Chancellor and Registrar lead the university forward. And before I conclude, I can say that Yatra Abhayo Kulapatihi, Yatra Guru Sishya Vidyadharo, Tatra Sri Nivasa, and Srinivasa also. Srinivasa or Vijayato Dhruvo Nitir Nyayar Matir Mamaha. Where is he, jurist, and where is he, chancellor, are there? We have is he, Vijaya. Sri Nivaso and Srinivasa. Srinivasa is embedded in her father's name itself, in his father's name. So that's why Sri Nivasa, and wealth and courage, conviction, Niti and Nyaya. These, I believe, and I form conviction, they will ever remain. And sir, this is your lordship now. You have to guide us and the university. Thank you. Sir, I take your leave.
Thank you so much, Professor Lakshminath, sir, for your insightful remarks. Thank you so much once again. I would now like to invite Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra Ghugge, Judge of the High Court of Bombay, to share his thoughts on this occasion.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Honorable Shri Justice Prasanna B. Varade, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and the newly appointed Chancellor of the Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, Aurangabad, Mrs. Geeta Varaleji, Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak, Madam Oak, the First Lady Vice Chancellor of this university, Dr. Ronald, our energetic, sometimes hyper, Registrar Dr. Dhanaji Yadav, my brother judges of the Bombay High Court, former judges, Shri Ramkrishna Bhogleji, Shri Mangesh Patil, the newly appointed chairman of the Maharashtra Administrative Tribunal, Mr. Jadhav, Justice Jadhav, member of the tribunal, Justice Gaikwad, senior advocates, faculty members, young students, ladies and gentlemen. I think the organizers committed a mistake of letting Professor Emeritus Lakshminathan to speak before me. He practically snatched my entire speech. He narrated even the judgments which His Lordship has delivered, all of them landmark judgments. So Justice Oak would be always remembered through his work, deeds, achievements, and the accolades that he much deserves. I was a young lawyer, having put in around 12 years when Honorable Shri Justice Oak was appointed as the judge of the Bombay High Court at a young age of 42 years and a little more. And as youngsters, I'm sure there must be many like me who were completely overawed by the fact and the news that His Lordship is being appointed as a judge at such a young age. By that time, His Lordship had a phenomenal reputation of not only being a flourishing practitioner, but a lawyer who used to put up highly studied submissions. And no wonder that at that young age, he was chosen and he was invited to be a judge of the Bombay High Court. Just imagine 22 years in the judiciary and a long, long list of achievements, a huge list of judgments, an equally huge list of reported judgments, and a great service to humanity and mankind. Born on 25th May 1960, His Lordship was inspired by his father, Srinivas W. Oak, a lawyer of great repute. His Lordship had done his Bachelor of Science, and then when he thought of becoming an engineer, probably his inner voice invited him to join the law course. And therefore, if this country has lost one good engineer, this country has gained an astute jurist. As I said, since Mr. Professor Lakshminathan has narrated so many of his judgments, he has left one judgment for me to delve upon. And that judgment was, I would recollect with not just great fondness, but it inspires judges to work fearlessly. And that judgment was delivered by him in 2018 when he practically issued a mandamus to people's representatives, VVIPs, not to issue commands to bureaucrats to do or undo something. He was dealing with a matter wherein the issue had come up of a bureaucrat having acted on the diktats of a VVIP. And His Lordship was required to observe in the judgment that henceforth no such reference letters which are normally termed in Marathi as Shifaras Patra, to any of the bureaucrats, and they should not be dictated to do something. That judgment is being cited even today when it comes to such situations. His Lordship had also delivered a landmark judgment on encroachments, and he stood by his first name, Abhay, while delivering the said judgment. He did not bother as to what would be the reaction of people, many of whom would feel hurt because of the order of removal of encroachments. If His Lordship is to be described, it could only be said that a man who carried his name Abhay with the true meaning that it stands for, he stood by the oath that he had taken to work fearlessly, favorlessly, and stood to the oath that he took right up to the last day of his career. I know of two incidents which one can imagine the strength of his lordship, the mental strength of his lordship and his willpower. When his lordship lost his father, he was the judge of the Bombay High Court. He attended and performed the final rites of his father. And when all the judges were keen to visit him, immediately in the lunch recess, his lordship said, "Please don't take the pains of coming to my house at Thane. You will be wasting some time of judicial working. I am coming back to the High Court because I have to resume work for the second session." When his lordship lost his mother, I believe just 3 days before he demitted office as the judge of the Supreme Court, his lordship went back to Bombay, performed the rites, came back, performed the last 2 days of his duties as a judge. And if I mistake not, I hope my memory serves me right, in those 2 days he delivered 26 judgments. Can you imagine the state of mind of a human being? Age is not a matter. Age is just a number. For any human being, losing his mother or father, the state of mind is going to be the same as could it be of anybody else. A person who loses his father comes back to work after the first session. A person who loses his mother comes back to work and works for the last 2 days of his career. Now you can imagine the level of dedication and involvement of a judge whose first name is Abhay. Sir, you are going to inspire generations. I am too young to speak much about you, but I think at this phase of my life, I believe it's a privilege for me, it's an honor for me to be here on the dais today and to speak something about you. Words would not be enough. Thoughts would flood one's mind. And when thoughts flood a mind, it becomes very difficult to put all those thoughts together and roll them out as grammatically perfect sentences, one after the other. So in such situation, it is always better to have a scripted lecture. And to say something about your lordship, I have prepared 3 to 4 paragraphs, which I think I must read because I have done the typing my own self in the middle of the night, because I believe for people like many of us, good thoughts come when you are back home, you open your laptop and you start writing something for somebody as revered and as great as His Lordship Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak. On his elevation to the judgeship of the Supreme Court of India, His leadership was characterized by a proactive approach in public interest litigation, focusing on the rights of marginalized communities, including slum dwellers, prisoners, and transgender persons. Justice Oak took the issue of locus standi seriously in public interest litigation and used it in a facilitative role as opposed to a command and control position. His conviction to uphold justice, harbingering social change, and preserving administrative accountability is reflected through his judgments on a variety of subjects, like the right to protest and requirements of Section 144 of the CRPC, the rights of the urban poor qua the illegal evictions, the right to shelter and upholding the state's obligation to provide shelter to the homeless under Article 21 of the Constitution, and ordering the setting up of requisite night shelters for the homeless across urban areas in the state and the country, the rights of prisoners, secularism, inviolable right to legal representation, combating atrocities against scheduled castes and tribes, implementation of prohibition on manual scavenging. He was widely acclaimed as a humble and modest judge who exhibited qualities of empathy and compassion, though being always strict and firmly insistent on discipline, manners, and etiquettes amongst lawyers. He encouraged all, especially the young lawyers, to concentrate on developing the skill of drafting. As the Chancellor of the MNLU, through his unwavering commitment, he championed academic excellence, supported key infrastructure projects, and played a pivotal role in shaping a vision for MNLU. His generous guidance not only enhanced the university's reputation, but also created countless opportunities for students and the faculty to thrive. He has been tirelessly striving to lay a strong foundation for the new university, driven by a vision of academic excellence and inclusive growth. With his unwavering dedication, he has overseen meticulous planning of academic programs, infrastructural development, and ensuring that every element aligns with the highest standards of professional education. His persistent efforts in mobilizing resources, building strategic partnerships, and fostering an environment of innovation have been instrumental in turning the dream of a world-class institution into a rapidly emerging reality. His leadership stands as a testament to what determined vision and committed service can achieve. His greatest contribution to the development of the university is both lasting and transformative, and shall be remembered until memory lasts. Ladies and gentlemen, I may convey to you that in the last Executive Council meeting that I had chaired, it was a decision taken unanimously, wholeheartedly, with a great element of excitement and a feeling that this university, who had a fatherly figure like Justice Oak, would continue to father this university, protect this university, take this university further, and the decision was taken to bestow the honor of Emeritus Jurist upon Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak. And that is how our committee, with all the selfishness that we had in mind, ensured that with this decision, Justice Oak would continue to be with us. And I pray to the God Almighty that His Lordship be blessed with a very healthy, happy, and a long life, again with a sense of selfishness, that His Lordship would continue to help this university reach greater heights, and this university would, in the real sense of the term, believe that it found a father in Justice Abhay Oak. Sir, I take this pleasure of conveying this decision to everybody in my capacity as being the chairman of that committee. And as I say, it's a boon in disguise for this university that you are with us. As Professor Lakshminath said, that we have a new chancellor in the form of Justice Prasanna Varade. Before I could say something about what the word Prasanna stands for, again Professor Lakshminathan snatched one paragraph of my speech. I am glad that I didn't say to him what I had planned to say. I believe otherwise he would have taken those paragraphs also. But all said and done, the new chancellor, who everybody knows and everybody recognizes and everybody is aware of, that he is a personality who also stands and acts by his first name, Prasanna. His coming to this university as a chancellor is going to give or open a new chapter of Prasannata for this university. And to conclude, I would say, just imagine of a situation. Emeritus jurist, Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak, and Chancellor of the University, Justice Prasanna Bhalachandra Varade. Our university is in safe hands. Our university has a great future. This baby is going to grow into a strapping adult who is going to mark his footsteps to the path of glory, to become an institution in this country to be remembered for a long time. I thank the organizations for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all. God bless the university. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for your inspiring words. We are indeed honored and privileged to have with us Honorable Shri Justice Prasanna Varade, Judge of the Supreme Court of India and now the Chancellor of this university. May I now request Honorable Justice Prasanna Varade to deliver the presidential address.
Honorable Sri Justice Abhay Oak sir, respected Anuja Vahini, my brother Justice Ravindraji Guge, respected Madam Ronald, Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra National University, Sambhajinagar, Shri Dhanaji Jadhav, Registrar, MNLU, Sambhajinagar, my former brother judges sitting in the audience, the senior advocates, the faculty members, non-teaching staff, my dear students. Well, before I proceed to my Shri Bhogaleji, before I proceed to my written speech, let me just express my views in response to Professor Shri Lakshminath ji. He said that it's neither the farewell of sir nor welcome of Justice Varade, but it is just an extension. And when you carry a legacy in a form of an extension of a person like Shri Oak sir, a great judge, an excellent administrator, above all a perfect, fine human being, it's very difficult. And in my case, this is the second occasion, sir, I was to carry your legacy, an extension in Karnataka as Chief Justice of Karnataka, and now here as your successor. But I am sure, and I said this in the morning, that the positive side of this is Oak sir, who is always a brother, elder brother, guide philosopher for all of us will be available to me for my guidance, for my assistance. It is my profound privilege to speak today in reflection and appreciation of one of the finest judges of our times, Justice Abhay Srinivas Oak, a name that has come to be associated with judicial integrity, unwavering commitment to the constitutional values, and a deep empathy for the marginalized and voiceless. Justice Oak started his career in the legal profession in the Thane district. His judicial journey began with his appointment as a judge of the Bombay High Court, then the Chief Justice of Karnataka, later Judge of the Supreme Court of India. He brought to the bench a rare blend of legal acumen and human sensitivity. What made Justice Oak stand apart was not just his sound knowledge of the law, but his courage and fierce independence. In a judicial career that spanned over 22 years, Justice Oak more than lived up to his name, Abhay, which translates to without fear. He understood the Constitution not merely as a legal document, but as a living, breathing promise, a character of justice, equality, and dignity. In his courtroom, the Constitution was not a distant doctrine, but a tool for empowerment. He consistently stood up for the rights of underprivileged. He reminded us that the role of judge is not simply to interpret the law, but to serve society by upholding the Constitution, protecting liberties, and ensuring fairness. Whether it was ensuring access to basic civic amenities for slum dwellers, defending environmental protection, or upholding the fundamental rights of citizens against arbitrary state action, his judgments always reflected his deep concern for justice in its truest sense. Having had the absolute privilege of knowing Justice Oak, both as an esteemed colleague as well as personally, one would still fall short of words to better explain his commitment to the profession than sheer fact just 2 days after the sad demise of his mother, Justice Oak returned to the bench, and moreover, he delivered 11 judgments on his last day on the bench. What more one can say about this towering personality? Justice Oak was known for his reasoned dissents and principled stands. He was unafraid to speak through his judgments, even when the issues were politically or socially sensitive. A remarkable feature of his career was the effective use of tool of the dialogic judicial review to course connect the executive. Yet his tone was always measured, his reasoning precise, and his respect for the institution absolute. For instance, a bench presided over by him declared as illegal curfew imposed by the Commissioner of Police in Bangalore under Section 144 CRPC in the wake of anti-CAA protest gathering. His judgment termed the fundamental right to peaceful protest a basic feature of the Constitution. On numerous instances, Justice Oak demonstrated that by simply asking the right questions and making the relevant observations, the judiciary can get government to act. Actual directions may not always be necessary. This was particularly evident while dealing with the migrant workers crisis during national lockdown. He passed several judgments and orders related to COVID management. A bench led by Justice Oak observed that the state has the constitutional obligation to mitigate the suffering of migrant workers. They were a direct consequence of the lockdown imposed by it. The bench highlighted several lacunae in the state policy regarding the migrant welfare. Following the sustained interrogation from the court, the Karnataka government made modifications in its policies regarding migrants. Yet, even though Justice Oak has been well known for his judgments to course correct the executive, he has stated that it is not true that It is justice only if you decide against those who are in power or the government. At times, you have to decide in favor of the government if decision falls within the four corners of the Constitution. This very well demonstrated that it was only and only supreme law of the land, the Constitution, which was the guiding factor for his judgment. In the judgment of Imran Pratapgadi, bench of Justice Abhay and Justice Ujjal Bhuyan reinforced the protection of free speech by observing that alleged poem encouraged non-violence and resilience in the face of injustice rather than inciting hatred or violence. It was observed that the poem does not refer to any religion, caste or language. It does not refer to persons belonging to any religion. By no stage of imagination does it promote enmity between different groups. In a detailed judgment of Maniben Bharia versus District Development Officer Dahod, Justice Ajay Rastogi and Justice Oak emphasized the importance of the work done by Anganwadi workers, helpers at the grassroots level in separate but concurring opinions. They held that Anganwadi workers are entitled to receive the gratuity under Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. Just days before his retirement, in May 2025, in the case of Vanashakti versus Union of India and connected matters, the bench struck down 2017 notification and 2021 office memorandum issued by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which permitted ex post facto environmental clearance (EC) for projects. This closed a long-standing loophole that allowed projects to begin without mandatory environmental assessment. In other landmark case, Tarsim Lal, Justice Oak bench held that the Enforcement Directorate cannot arrest a person under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 after a special court has taken cognizance of the case. He observed, the object of issuing a summons is to secure the accused presence before the court. It is not issued for taking an accused in custody. In the case relating to monkey deaths in Belur Taluka, Justice Oak, as the Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court, took so moto cognizance of the situation. Justice Oak and Justice Sanjay Gowda emphasized the need to establish guidelines to prevent the future incident of animal cruelty, which were both inhuman and shocking. In the landmark case of Shilpa versus Varun, a 5-judge constitution bench unanimously held it can revoke its special powers under Article 142 of Constitution to grant divorce on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage, which is not yet a statutory recognized ground. In the case of Javed versus State of Maharashtra, Justice Oak's bench quashed an FIR against a professor for his WhatsApp post criticizing an abrogation of Article 370. Justice Oak observed that intervention of law in free speech cases is required only in case when written or spoken words tend to create social unrest or create public disorder. He held that the accused had a right to legitimate lawful dissent under Article 19. Every citizen has the right to offer criticism of the action of abrogation of 370. For that matter, every decision of the state, he wrote, if every criticism or protest of the action of state is to be held as an offense under Section 153A, democracy, which is an essential feature of the Constitution of India, will not survive. Beyond his judgments, Justice Oak inspired an entire generation of lawyers and judges through his work ethic, humility, steadfast belief in the judicial independence. By delivering lectures in training institutes for newly appointed judges or delivering speeches for budding lawyers and law students, his words acted as a word of encouragement, providing clarity and purpose to his listeners. In his speeches, he would urge young lawyers to take up pro bono cases, stating that legal practice is a five-star social work. In the sense that if you are successful, you can earn a lot. At the same time, you can do a lot of pro bono work and help people to agitate their grievances before the court. In his address at Columbia Law School on hate speech against religious and caste minorities, Justice Oak reflected on the journey of Constitution over past 7 decades, emphasizing the enduring significance of constitutional values in addressing present-day challenges like hate speech. Justice Oak highlighted preamble's assurance of fraternity as foundational principle, asserting that widespread public education about fraternity is essential to curb the prevalence of hate speech in society. He argued that while legal mechanisms are necessary, true prevention of hate speech lies in nurturing social harmony and strengthening the collective consciousness through education, as hate speech undermines the right to live with dignity guaranteed under Article 21. Justice Oak drew attention to the delicate balance the Constitution strikes between protecting freedom of speech and permitting reasonable restrictions under Article 19 in the interest of public order, decency, and morality. He cautioned that the restrictions must not be misused to stifle dissent, art, or protest, which are integral to a dignified and meaningful life in democracy. Reflecting on India's freedom struggle, he noted that fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution were born out of necessity to safeguard freedom that were once brutally suppressed under colonial rule. He stressed on the fact that evolution of law must keep pace with changing societal needs, advocating for the continuous development of legal principles to address the hate speech while upholding the core constitutional values of fraternity, dignity, and freedom. As we reflect on Justice Oak's illustrious career, we are reminded of what Justice Krishna Iyer once said: "The robe we wear is not a badge of status, but a symbol of service." Justice Oak exemplified this spirit throughout his judicial service. Today, as he has stepped away from the bench, his legacy endures not only in the volumes of law reports, but in the lives touched by his sense of justice. In hope, he offered to those on the margins and in the continuing fight for a just and equal society that he so deeply believed in. One more response to Professor Lakshminath-ji. Lakshminath-ji said that on one occasion, when he called Justice Oak sir in late evening, at that late evening, Justice Oak was quick to respond him, and it showed the love, affection to this university in particular, and his dedication to the cause in general. I also said this once in one of my speech, that this quality, this dedication of Oak sir to this institute reminds me the verse in Bhagavad Gita, and it says, while describing Sayyami, Ya Nisha Bhuta Sarvanam Jagrati Sayyami Tet. He is the person who is caring for this society, for this word, for the cause he takes up, and for that he is available 24/7, and that's how Justice Oak sir was always. I am very happy that Justice Oak sir would be here providing us his guidance as the Professor Emeritus in our MNLU-Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. May his legacy guide the bench and bar in the years to come, and may his principled voice continues to resonate in our courts and our conscience. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for your gracious presence and guiding us with your valuable words. We shall now proceed to the release of the coffee table book commemorating the life and achievements of Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Oak. As we prepare to unveil this beautiful tribute, let me share a few words that speak to the essence of a life lived in the pursuit of justice, wisdom, and dignity. In pages that reflect your journey, the weight of law finds warmth in your humanity. A judge's robe worn with grace, with every chapter carved in honor. Here lies a chronicle of courage, steadfast as a blade, gentle as falling dew. Each image, each word, a testament to service that shaped the horizons of our law. May this coffee table book stand not just as a record, but a mirror to vision, the life of Justice Oak, deep-rooted, unbowed, a crown of integrity born of silent resolve. With this, I would like to invite Honorable Shri Justice Prasanna Varale to kindly release the coffee table book, capturing the journey of a luminary who guided minds, shaped law, and enriched our university. Thank you so much. And now, with immense pleasure and pride, I would like to invite Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Oak to share his views on this special occasion.
All I can say is I am deeply touched by this gesture of MNLU-Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. Justice Prasannaji Varale, esteemed judge of the Supreme Court of India and Chancellor of this university, my former colleague, Justice Ravindra Guge, the senior judge of the Bombay High Court and chairman of the Executive Council, sitting judges of the Bombay High Court, the chairman, Justice Mangesh Patil, chairman of the Maharashtra Administrative Tribunal, the retired judges of the Bombay High Court, Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald, the Vice Chancellor, Mrs. Anuja O, Geeta Vahini, Mr. Dhanaji Jadhav, senior members of the bar, those who are unconnected with profession like Mr. Bhugle, who has been helping us, retired judges, members of the faculty, and students who are present in large numbers. Before I had immediate office and after I had immediate office, so many bar associations and other organizations wanted to give me farewell or felicitate me. So after the felicitation of Supreme Court Bar Association, I knew that there was a plan by MNLU to felicitate me. Therefore, I told all the organizers that now I am going to take farewell functions only from 2 organizations. And both are so dear to me. One was my school in Thane, MH High School, and second one was MNLU-Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. Perhaps some of you may not be able to imagine that sitting in Delhi, practically every alternate day, I used to call the registrar, Professor Dhanaji Jadhav, so many calls to Vice Chancellor, so many calls to Justice Guge, even though he was working in chamber late in the evening. Sometimes his secretary used to tell me that, sir is sitting in the court. So, perhaps I troubled everybody. Professor Lakshminath was here. A situation arose where our Vice Chancellor resigned, and I practically forced Professor Lakshminath to assume the office of in charge Vice Chancellor, and he did such a wonderful job. I want to tell on this occasion how MNLU at Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar has come into existence. As perhaps the younger students may not be aware, we always say proudly that state of Maharashtra has given the best legal talent to our country. Our first Chief Justice was from Maharashtra, first Attorney General, first Solicitor General, and series of Chief Justices, series of law officers like Attorney General and Solicitor Generals. The father of national law schools, Professor Madhava Menon, was instrumental in setting up the first national law school, of course with the encouragement and active help of Bar Council of India at Bengaluru. And then so many institutions of national law schools came up. Bombay High Court realized that though this state has given such a great legal talent to the nation, to our legal system, in fact so many academicians are from Bombay High Court. One name I must take, Dr. P.V. Kane, who wrote book on Hindu Dharma Shastra, was the first advocate to be honored with highest civilian honor of Bharat Ratna. He belonged to institution of Bombay High Court. So why there is no national law school in state of Maharashtra? Bombay High Court suggested that national law school should be set up at Uttan in Thane district, where we have our beautiful judicial academy. A decision was taken by the cabinet that there will be only one national law school, and that will be in Aurangabad. Chief Justice, the Chief Justice, who was very enthusiastic, and we must give credit to him for establishing 3 national law schools, the then Chief Justice, Justice Mohit Shah. He was disturbed by that decision, and ultimately there was some exchange of meetings with the Chief Justice, the Chief Minister, and then it was decided that there should be 3 national law schools, one in Mumbai, one in Nagpur, and one in Aurangabad. Now it is Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. There was one historic meeting in Bombay High Court. I was present in the meeting, where Chief Justice Mohit Shah, after the act came into force, he invited some of the retired judges. There were 3 retired Supreme Court judges who were from Bombay High Court. There are other personalities, Secretary of the Law Department, Secretary of the Higher Education Department. And then question arose, how do we go about with establishing 3 universities? I must tell the young students, this involves huge investment. This entire campus and these buildings, huge amount of public funds are required. 3 retired judges of the Supreme Court categorically said that government of Maharashtra is very slow in giving funds for establishing courts. We don't get infrastructure. So unless infrastructure is provided to all the 3 universities, we should not even think of joining. We should not even think of starting or commencing the work of these 3 universities. We must put a condition precedent, must give us the land, start construction, and then we'll consider setting up the universities, because High Court was to play an important role in setting up the universities. There was one great jurist, great human being who was present in the meeting. We had invited him, Professor Madhava Menon. After everybody spoke, Professor Madhava Menon requested the Chief Justice that he should be allowed to speak. With such a great personality, we call him as father of the national law schools. He did not speak, he quietly listened. And he told the Chief Justice, he said, with great respect to the views expressed by eminent retired judges of the Bombay High Court who adorn the seat of the Supreme Court, please start immediately. And then he said, he was first Vice Chancellor of National Law School at Bangalore. He said, we started National Law School at Bangalore from a garage, and look at the infrastructure. Meeting was inconclusive. After a few days, 2 or 3 days, I was called by the Chief Justice, Justice Mohit Shah, to his chamber. Perhaps he had talked to senior colleagues. I was not that senior at that time. Then he asked for views of senior judges. He asked for my views. So I told Chief Justice Mohit Shah, I said, sir, some decision has to be taken. So best course is to follow what Professor Madhava Menon says, and we'll take decision to set up the 3 national law schools. And that is how that decision was taken. Informally, the Chief Justice announced that responsibility of setting up National Law School Mumbai will be given to me. Our Chief Justice of India, Justice Bhushan Gawai, will have task of setting up National Law School in Nagpur, and Justice Borde, who is present here, he will be given task of setting up National Law School in Aurangabad. And that is how we began our journey. Someday, it is worth writing an article how these 3 national law schools have come up. I want to tell a very interesting thing which I shared some time back. Justice Khalifullah, sitting judge of Supreme Court, was the Chancellor of National Law School at Mumbai. And perhaps the National Law School to begin with at Aurangabad and Nagpur, they are better off. But we were operating from a temporary structure in the precincts of Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. So in the meeting I was vociferous. I said, now time has come to proceed against the government and to file a writ petition in the High Court, writ of mandamus, that government must give us infrastructure. If you read the Act, Maharashtra National Law Universities Act, the Chief Minister is part of General Council, the Cabinet Minister of the Higher Education Department is part of the General Council, Education Secretary, Finance Secretary, Law Secretary, they are all part of the General Council. Justice Khalifullah said, Justice Oak is right. But I said, sir, if I am right, then we must record in our resolution of General Council. Obviously, minutes were drawn, Justice Khalifullah secretary, we are in Supreme Court conference hall, minutes were drawn, minutes were signed. None of the government officers signed those minutes. Fortunately, the then Minister of Higher Education willingly signed the minutes. And he said, today, I am not Cabinet Minister, I am here as somebody who is part of this university. And perhaps that was one step from where the approach of the government changed. And I am saying this because there are young students. It's not easy to set up these institutions. Justice Khanvilkar, who was my predecessor, had taken great pains for allotment of this land. Before that, I must give credit to Justice Borde, who is of course son of the soil, so he devoted time and energy. Same thing was done by Justice Gawai, and therefore these institutions came up. Justice Khanvilkar was instrumental in pushing the government to give this land. I don't recollect whether it happened during his tenure. But when I assumed the post of the Chancellor, I found that the government had not given us money. I had a meeting with the Secretary of the Higher Education Department, online meeting. Somehow I found approach to be negative. Then we constituted, it was my idea to constitute a local committee to guide us, to help us. Some of the members are here. Justice Borde, Justice Sunil Deshmukh, Mr. Bhogle, Chartered Accountant Shri Patil, and 2 designated senior advocates, Mr. Sakpal is here, Mr. Dhorde is not here. And then through somebody, an application was made under RTI, and we got officially the figures. We found that large amount had gone to MNLU Nagpur. Next was Bombay, and third was Aurangabad. And then there was a historical event of Justice Borde holding a press conference, and it was displayed on all newspapers. That step-motherly treatment was given to MNLU here. In that time, it was Aurangabad. And it had magical effect, what Justice Borde did, and what I'm sure that other members of the committee must have played role because we as judges we have limitations. So somebody must have spoken to the government. Few days after that press conference, Bombay High Court felicitated Justice Uday Lalit, who was recently appointed as Chief Justice of India. At that function, I was told by one of the registrars that Chief Secretary of State badly wants to meet you. So he met me, he said, sir, it will not happen like that. All funds will be released. And that is how the funds were released, and now we see 3 buildings under construction. So a lot of efforts are required for setting up these institutions. And I have personally heard what Professor Madhava Menon did. Of course, he was supported by all-powerful Bar Council of India. But what kind of efforts were required to be made to have this great institution which is there in Bengaluru. And I want to tell something with great deal of emphasis, that idea, the vision, and I must say that after Justice Borde demitted office, our esteemed friend Justice Sanjay Gangapurwala, who retired as Chief Justice of High Court at Chennai, Justice Ravindra Guge, Justice Varale, who was himself involved in the university in different capacities, Justice Mangesh Patil, all of them contributed. The entire idea, the entire object, the entire aim was, we want to put this National Law School on the map of the nation. Because I always say that as compared to other national law schools, perhaps to begin with, we have good infrastructure. And there is a potential to have far more better infrastructure. I believe young students must have seen the mess. You will not find such huge mess in any university. I'm not talking about only national law schools, but you go to IIT, you go to any other institution, you will not get such facility. I'm not saying that these are the ideal facilities, but these are very good facilities. And one more idea which I used to discuss with Brother Justice Borde, Justice Gangapurwala, Justice Sunil Deshmukh, Justice Borde. I always used to tell them that, you know, somehow students, when they think of giving preferences, unfortunately a tag was attached to Aurangabad, then Aurangabad, that it's a backward place. Therefore, we decided that this tag should be removed, and our steps should be to establish a world-class institution here. And that is our aim and object, in which not only the government, but also the members of the bar, citizens of Aurangabad, they have come forward and they have contributed. There's one more interesting thing which I want to tell you. Not that everything I can disclose. Now we have a 4-story library coming up. You must have seen that building. My personal view, I may be wrong. There are academicians here who are more equipped to say that. I always believe that prestige, quality and standing of any educational institution depends on how big is the library that institution has. And therefore, within a couple of years, we'll have one of the biggest libraries here on this campus. In fact, afternoon we took Justice Varale, where the building is coming up. Some of the retired judges said that few tables should be reserved to us in that building overlooking the hill. So we can spend time there, we can read books and spend time very peacefully. So this library, which will consist of 4 floors, is going to give all the prestige to our institution. And ultimately, why we have national law schools? The reason I spoke in the morning, the reason is given by Professor Madhava Menon. He says that a legal system consists of laws which are enacted by the legislature, legal institutions like court, and legal professionals. He has used the word legal professionals in very broad sense. Now, legal professionals will naturally include lawyers, the judges, and the academicians. Therefore, endeavor of this university, which I again repeatedly have said, that this is a state-owned university. So we have responsibility to see that this university, after so much of money is invested by the state, must give back to the legal institution. We want to create top class litigating lawyers who contribute work in district courts, high courts and Supreme Court. We want to give judges. And there is very striking feature now I want to share with young students. Now, I have gone to Judicial Academy in Bihar, I have been going to Karnataka. Now, many young law graduates who have come out from even National Law School at Bangalore, they are joining judiciary. So we want to give legal talent back to the society. That's our aim. And one more aim, which I always say, that we want to create top-class academicians. I don't know whether Bindu Madam was there at that time. We had invited ex-Vice Chancellor of MNLU Bombay, Professor Panda, in one of the functions. He was candid enough to tell us that all of us must remember that in India, there is no true legal research, because the so-called research happens only to write your thesis for the purposes of doctorate. So therefore, this is one more area where we want to work, that we want to create something which will lead to real legal research in India. And now there is succession, as Justice Varale said a few minutes back. We have followed the same trajectory from Bombay to Bangalore, Bangalore to Supreme Court. And while we were Supreme Court, we came here. I always believe that my duty as a chancellor of this university was same as my duty as a judge of the Supreme Court, because ultimately we take oath as the judges in the Supreme Court to serve the legal system, to serve the common man. And when we are appointed as chancellors or chairperson of the Executive Council, it is our duty, constitutional duty, to help the cause of legal education. And that is the concept. So there is something common between us. Justice Varale comes from this city, and therefore, whenever occasion demands, he'll be very happy, along with Gita Vahini, to come back to Aurangabad. So he'll be always available to MNLU. Now my new status, in fact, the whole idea of accepting that was that I can come back again and again to this university. Now there are courses here arranged today. Justice Borde was telling me, a very senior doctor had joined a course, diploma course or postgraduate degree course here, who is somebody who is 70 years old. So perhaps my presence here may inspire me to join some postgraduate course also. And that's the reason why I want to continue my association with university. I must thank from my bottom of my heart for this coffee table book. I had requested the Vice Chancellor that if at all you want to have felicitation function, it should be a small function where only our academicians should be there, those who are associated universities there. But of course, after I demitted office, I don't have that kind of control over university. Therefore, she has chosen to have such a huge function, and so many students are present. So before I close, I want to tell everyone who is present here that let us achieve our goal of putting this institution on the top of the map. And every year I see improvement in terms of the standing of the institution, but so much work is required to be done. As Professor Lakshminath said, now we have somebody as a Vice Chancellor who will continue for 10 years. And therefore, we can sincerely hope, and I'm sure about it, that now our upward journey has started. Initial troubles are over, and our upward journey has started, and that upward journey will continue. I thank the university, my esteemed colleagues, Justice Varale, Justice Guge, all of them spoke from the bottom of their heart. Professor Lakshminath, I thank all of them, and I assure you that whenever my services are available, are required for the university, I'll be always available. Thank you, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Your Lordship, for sharing your profound insights and experiences. We are truly blessed to have you as Emeritus Jurist of this university. You are truly an inspiration for all of us. And on this note, we shall now proceed with the felicitation of our dignitaries. I would like to request Honorable Shri Justice Prasanna B. Varade, Judge Supreme Court of India, to felicitate Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Oak, former Judge Supreme Court of India, former Chancellor and now Emeritus Jurist of this university, with a shawl and memento as a mark of our honor. Thank you so much, Your Lordship. We have a special guest today. I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald, to felicitate Mrs. Anuja Abhay Oak by presenting her a token of our gratitude. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would now like to request Honorable Shri Justice Ravindra Guge to felicitate Honorable Shri Justice Prasanna B. Varade, Judge Supreme Court of India and Chancellor of this university, with a shawl and memento. I would also like to invite Mrs. Geeta Prasanna Varade on the dais for the felicitation. Last but not the least, I would like to request Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald to felicitate Mrs. Geeta Prasanna Varade by presenting her a token of her gratitude. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now, as we draw this memorable event to a close, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Dhanaji Jadhav, Registrar of this university, to propose a vote of thanks.
Honorable dignitaries on the dais, most valued invited guests, faculty members, and dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks of this felicitation function of our former Chancellor, Honorable Justice Abhay Oak, and Emeritus Jurist of Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. It has been said that great power comes with the great responsibility. And the ultimate measure of a man is not when he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but the ultimate measure of man is that when he stands in the moment of challenge and controversy. I would like to put on record my sincere thanks towards the former Chancellor of Maharashtra National Law University, Justice Abhay Oak, who took the charge of the university as the Chancellor of the Chancellor when the university was at the nascent stage. Due to his decisive leadership, professional commitment, he strived hard to prove that he is not just a ceremonial head, but heart and soul of the institution. Few people are institution in themselves, and it was a great learning experience to be associated with him as the Chancellor of the university. During very crucial times, we learn and unlearn many things from him. And I am unable to control myself to share one or two such incidents. Most of the times, one of such crucial incident he referred, and he was so accessible and approachable to the university officials, including former Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Lakshminath and myself. At one fine morning, I got a call around 7:30 with respect to know the status of financial status, where the university was expecting some grant from the government. And let me tell you that he called around 12 times with respect to know the status. Then later on we called many government high officials. I connected to the collector office, commissioner office, and he himself personally was trying to get the track. So at the evening around 6 o'clock, we exhausted all our possible efforts and thought that nothing is going to be happen. And then later on he scheduled one meeting. And I was knowing that when he scheduled the meeting, it means something is passing in his mind and probably the part of his strategy. And again at the evening at around 7:30, again he tried to get the track of the situation. Jadhav, whether we received the fund, it was around 8 o'clock. No sir, I'm still waiting. And that in the late in the evening around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I got the message from my deputy registrar, sir, we received the fund. It was 11:30 midnight, and I thought that whether I should call him. I dropped the message, sir, we received the fund. Immediately 11:30 he called me. So it was indeed great pleasure to work under your able guidance, mentoring, and you have shaped the university right from the nascent stage to this center of excellence. And I'm sure that the way you have guided all of us, the university will reach to the greater height of an academics and excellence. Thank you so much. We, from the bottom of heart, we express our indebtedness towards your contribution towards Maharashtra National Law University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. I take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Anuja Oak. I also take this opportunity to thank the Chancellor of the University, Honorable Justice Prasanna Varade. Again, let me add here that he also witnessed the progress of the university bricks by bricks. We are really privileged to have you as our next Chancellor, and I'm sure and I have no iota of doubt in my mind that university will further reach to the greater reach of academic excellence. I also take this opportunity to thank Honorable Justice Ravindra Guge, who always support the university through his constant guidance and support. I must specially thanks to Honorable Justice Ravindra Borde, Honorable Justice Sunil Deshmukh, Honorable Justice Mangesh Patil, especially those who were part and parcel of this university's different committees, and they constantly support the university during the tenure of Honorable Justice Abhay Oka as the Chancellor of the university. I also thanks to all sitting and retired judges of Bombay High Court for their esteemed presence. I also thanks to all the designated senior counsel, Sri Ramchandraji Bogle, who always support the university in its ups and downs. I thanks to Professor Bindu Ronald, the leader of the institutions under whose able guidance university is striving hard to maintain the academic excellence. I also take this opportunity to thank Distinguished Professor Emeritus, Professor Dr. Lakshminath, for his valuable and motivational guidance. I take this opportunity to thank all of my faculty members for their strong support. Last but not least, I also thanks to my faculty member Jai Shette and Prafulla Lele under able guidance of Dr. Bindu Reynald. They strived hard to get the printouts of this copy table, that too in a manageable time and in meaningful way. Thank you very much, everybody, for being with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, the program is over. Thank you once again for making it a great success. We shall